Oh, everyone loves a scandal, don't they? Last week I had a look at the Vanguard platform in detail and specifically the life strategy funds, which I like. But they also have a range of funds called the Target Retirement Funds, which in true grumpy old man fashion, I'm going to explain why I don't like them. My name is Tom Morgan, I'm a financial planner and advisor here in the UK. Hello again, or hello if this is your first time to the channel. Welcome to That Finance Show. When do you want to retire? Whatever your target date, we have a fund for you. That's me auditioning for the Vanguard TV ad if they ever make it. But seriously, that's the strapline for the Target Retirement Funds. Yeah, are you quite finished? Yeah, that's enough. Go. So there are currently 11 different target retirement funds that Vanguard offer, and each of them has a date in the name, ranging from 2015 and then up in 5-year intervals all the way up to 2065. The year is the year that you want to retire, well, within 5 years or so of that approximate date. And herein lies my first problem. If I were to ask you right here, right now, when do you want to retire? The chances are you have no idea. And even if you are in the minority of people that have given some serious thought to this topic, the chances of things panning out the way you expect or no changes to your circumstances are pretty slim, especially if you're looking at the Target Retirement Date 2065 fund, which is 44 years away from the time I'm filming this. Retirement dates are rarely set in stone and, from my experience, are always under review. Also, if you're somebody that's working towards FIRE, which stands for Financial Independence Retire Early, then I think these funds really are to be avoided, and I'll explain why. Now, I'm not saying it's right that so few of us have a handle on when it is we would like to retire. In fact, I think if you've got a better handle on that and a proper plan, then you're much more likely to achieve it. But what tends to happen when you ask people that question is they give some common answer. They say 65, or they say when their parents retired, or they actually tell you the date that their state pension is going to start. And interestingly, that's not the question. The question that I ask is, when do you want to retire? Give it some real thought and see whether you can get yourself a plan and a target to work towards. The problem is, if you're a dreamer like me and you plan on retiring much earlier than the conventional norm, then these target retirement date funds really don't do it for me. Now, we've covered the difference between equities and bonds in the previous Vanguard video where I focused on the life strategy fund, so I'm not going to repeat myself here. But with these target retirement date funds, what they will do is de-risk you as you approach your retirement year. So essentially, the further away that you are from retirement, more of your portfolio will be held in equities. And as you move closer to your retirement year, the bond allocation will increase. So look here, you've got age across the bottom and asset mix up the side. And what you'll notice is if you're 25 years old, you have 80% in equities and 20% in bonds. When you hit 45, the equity content starts to drop until eventually when you get to 75, it flattens out where you'll be sat with a 70% bond, 30% equity portfolio. The theory here is that as you approach retirement, you'll be more concerned with preserving what you've got with bonds rather than speculating and trying to make bigger potential gains with shares. I think that these ideas and the problems that the target retirement date funds are trying to solve are old-fashioned and are not that relevant anymore. It's not so much the funds themselves I have a problem with, it's the whole overall concept and how they don't really fit into a real-life situation anymore. This automatic de-risking strategy is sometimes called lifestyling and sometimes also called glide path, is something and a concept that I don't really like. Ironically, many of the UK pensions that you will be a member of with your employers, actually the default investment strategy is in a lifestyling type arrangement like this that will de-risk over time. So if what I'm saying makes sense to you in this video, then please review your pension arrangements to see how the investments are set up. You see, back in the day, people used to work, build themselves a pot of retirement money by investing in a pension, turn 65, and cash in that pension to buy themselves a retirement income, a lifetime income. It's something called an annuity, and essentially you hand over your pot of investments, you cash them in, come out of the market in exchange for receiving a guaranteed lifetime income from an annuity provider. This is why it was always seen as pretty solid advice to de-risk your investment strategy as you approached your retirement date, because you'd be cashing in on all your investments and coming out of the market. And the last thing you want is for the value of your investments to be swinging around like a I've written that. I'm not going to read that. Just swinging around. Forget the analogy. But since the introduction of pension flexibility, income drawdown, coupled with the fact that annuity rates are very, very low and people tend to be phasing their retirement, this approach to retiring is pretty outdated. On top of all of this, don't forget we're all living an awful lot longer, and what this means is that we're all going to be invested for a lot longer, well beyond our retirement date. What this all boils down to is I'm not so sure that as I approach my retirement date, I want such a high allocation in bonds, or at the very least, I want the option to make that decision when I get there. I'd like to think at that point I've got at least 30 more years ahead of me that I want to remain invested and draw an income from my investments and keep it going. Vanguard themselves point out that the mix of shares and bonds in your portfolio are determined by the target date. What that means is that you may not be best invested in the best performing asset class at any given time. And herein lies another problem. What they're actually saying here is you could be in a market cycle where bonds are doing terribly bad, shares are doing extremely well, but because you're approaching your target retirement date, they're going to switch out of those well-performing shares and buy some of those poor-performing bonds, simply because you've reached the target date and not because it's a good move to do it. Generally speaking, for me personally, I think these portfolios are too conservative. What on earth is a 25-year-old doing with 40 years of investing ahead of them before their target retirement date? What on earth are they doing with 20% in bonds? Now, I'm a pretty aggressive investor, I admit, so my view might not match yours. Just because you are retired when you get there doesn't mean you can't have a growth-focused portfolio. I know for me personally, with the way things are at present, I wouldn't want a high allocation to bonds at all. The counter-argument is, yes, Tom, but what happens if there's a market crash right before you're due to retire? And yes, that is a good point, and it is a risk. However, the answer doesn't lie, in my opinion, with these target retirement funds. The answer lies with holding a larger cash position, a larger emergency fund as you move into retirement. A larger pot of cash that has no risk of the ups and downs of the stock market, so if there is a market crash right before you come to retire, you can change tack, use your cash, weather the storm, and then reassess when things return to normal. The only time I really see these funds being useful is if there is a specific target, something you're looking to achieve in the future where you will be cashing out of all of your investments in one go. Something like, say, a gift you want to give to one of your children in 10 years' time, or that monster holiday you want to go on. So I propose a rebrand. From now on, these funds will be known as the Target Give a Gift to Your Child in 10 Years or Go on That Monster Holiday Fund. There we are. Who's ever said I was no good at marketing anyway?